This sniper has the mission of guarding an abyss, which holds creatures that must never, under any circumstances, escape. A woman hides deep within the trees, waiting for her target to arrive. In the distance, a plane lands at an airport. As it comes to a stop, its doors open and a couple steps out. It is at that moment the woman takes aim at the man and fires. Meanwhile, Levi, a former U.S. Marine and private contractor, has been retired for 4 years, though he still takes occasional jobs when called. One morning, he receives a message instructing him to report to the Marine Corps base. Upon arrival, he meets a woman named Bartholomew, who reviews Levi's record. Levi is an elite sniper with 113 confirmed kills and 81 probable kills. However, the actual numbers are much higher. His talent is exceptional. He does not use illegal substances and refuses to take any kind of medication, as it could affect his precision. He also has no girlfriend or anyone to mourn his loss. But everything is about to change when he is offered a new job. In Lithuania, the woman from the beginning, named Dresa, arrives at a cemetery where she meets her father and places a flower on her mother's grave. Dresa is a skilled sniper and has recently been assigned a new mission. She will be undercover for at least a year, possibly longer. This is not ideal, as her father is battling cancer, which is consuming him from within. However, he informs her that on February 14th, Valentine's Day, he will end it all. Dresa tries to change his mind, but his decision is final. In September, Levi is aboard a plane. A soldier approaches and warns him that in 3 minutes, they will enter a restricted area and can go no further. Upon landing, he must travel 38 kilometers north, where he will be expected the next morning. After putting on his parachute gear, Levi jumps, landing in an unknown location. He walks for several hours until he reaches the meeting point. There he encounters Jasper D. Drake, known as JD. JD has been at this location for a year and, like Levi, does not know exactly where they are. Levi is also the first person JD has spoken to in all that time. The reason is that Levi is there to relieve him. JD shows Levi the Western Observation Tower, which will be his home for the next 365 days. The tower is self-sustaining. It has solar panels, an emergency generator, a rainwater collection system, and abundant wildlife for hunting. In the distance, the eastern tower is visible, but any contact with it is strictly prohibited. Additionally, there are mines and deadly barriers surrounding the abyss to the north and south. JD assures Levi that the eastern tower is not a problem. As long as Levi does his job, they will do theirs. In theory, the job is simple. Each day, Levi must patrol the perimeter, where there are turrets approximately every 600 meters. He must reload ammunition, check the barriers, camouflage, and suspended mines. The exterior bunker contains an arsenal with weapons, tools, ammunition, and mines. Every 30 days, he must send a report via radio. The camouflage consists of satellite transmitters scattered along the perimeter, each with its own power source and emergency generator. Their function is to send false signals to satellites passing over the area, preventing them from detecting it. There is no external communication, no cell service, no satellite, nothing. In case of an emergency, there is a panic button at the monthly reporting station that will alert superiors. If the camouflage fails or the abyss is breached, the automatic system will execute the rabid dog protocol. This will activate the sirens, and the only thing Levi can do is run. Run very fast. But that's not all. The real mission isn't just to keep the place secret. It's to prevent whatever is inside the abyss from escaping. JD activates a bomb, throws it into the abyss, and after the explosion, a bone-chilling scream erupts from the depths, confirming that this is no ordinary mission. JD explains that they are called the Empty Men. No one knows exactly what they are or why they're called that. One of his predecessors named them that long ago, and the name stuck. In the late 1940s, they sent 2,400 men on horseback into the abyss to clean it out, but none returned. After that, a containment strategy was adopted. JD believes the abyss is the gateway to hell, and they are guarding the door. The next morning, JD says goodbye to Levi. When he reaches the extraction zone, a helicopter quickly appears. Relieved to be leaving the place, he gives his full name and password, only to be shot in the head. His body is tossed into the void as if it were nothing. Shortly after, Bartholomew receives a call informing her that the rotation has been completed. By October, Levi has settled into his new routine. He checks the system, inspects the mines, and sends a monthly report. One day, while inspecting the tower, he discovers that behind a shelf, his predecessors have left messages scrawled on the wall. Another day, while tending to his crops, he hears a noise coming from the other side of the abyss. He climbs the tower and, using binoculars, spots the guard from the other tower, who turns out to be Dresa. Spending too much time alone proves worse than one might imagine. So much so that one night, Dresa decides to break the rules. She writes a message on a piece of paper and fires a shot into the air to get Levi's attention. He responds in kind, reminding her that contact is forbidden. However, it's Dresa's birthday and she decides to do as she pleases. So, Levi raises a toast while Dresa blasts music at full volume. Then they test their marksmanship to pass the time. Everything seems fine until Dresa notices something. She stops the music and signals Levi to check. He sees nothing at first, but when he looks through his rifle scope, he sees the empty men for the first time. Deformed humans with root-like growths covering their bodies. Immediately he fires, causing an explosion. It turns out several of them are attempting to climb out of the abyss, forcing Dresa to assist him. This distracts her from noticing that, on her side, several empty men are also climbing. Until one gets close enough, forcing her to draw her pistol and shoot. But this was only the beginning. One of the empty men steps on a mine, triggering a second explosion that leaves Dresa with a chest wound. To make matters worse, a second wave of empty men begins climbing out. There are so many that the mini-turrets start firing automatically to stop them. Dresa does what she can, but her chest wound is severe and she eventually passes out. At dawn, Dresa regains consciousness and tends to her wound. Later, Levi checks the mines while she covers him. However, something strange happens. A drone-like object emerges from the abyss, pausing briefly in front of him before flying away. By Christmas, Levi takes the initiative to set up a tree and wishes Dresa a Merry Christmas. From then on, they begin interacting more frequently, building snowmen and playing chess. Unusually, they form a close bond, finding comfort and companionship in the midst of the loneliness and danger surrounding them. On February 14th, Dresa mourns the loss of her father. Levi sees her from a distance and asks what's wrong. She simply confesses that it's been a tough day and that she wishes she could be with him. Levi remembers a phrase written on the wall by his predecessors: "Only those who risk going too far can find out how far they can go." This inspires him to make Dresa's wish come true. From his arsenal, he takes a missile and modifies it, replacing the explosive with a rope. He fires it, and on the other end, Dresa secures the rope to a tree. After shaving and gathering some flowers, Levi puts on a harness and begins crossing the abyss. When he reaches the other side, he comes face to face with Dresa for the first time. Later, they enjoy a pleasant outdoor meal while discussing where they might be. Levi is certain they must be somewhere in the northern hemisphere, given the seasons. Seizing the moment, he admits that the view is even better now, sitting there with Dresa in front of him. However, beyond wanting to charm her, Levi has also been wondering about the truth behind the empty men. As night falls, Dresa puts on some music and, in a playful and provocative manner, convinces Levi to dance with her. The moment ends with them kissing and lying together. Later, as they gaze at the stars, Levi reveals that he writes poetry and has even written a poem about Dresa titled Asterisk, She Collapsed the Night. Asterisk hearing this, Dresa is delighted. The next morning they say goodbye with a kiss. Things are going better than ever, but nothing lasts forever. As Levi is crossing the abyss, an explosion occurs. A piece of debris cuts the rope, and Levi falls straight and inevitably into the abyss. Seeing this, Dresa quickly gears up and, without hesitation, leaps into the abyss after him. Below, everything is shrouded in a yellowish mist. Dresa has the misfortune of landing in a river. Levi, on the other hand, is caught in the branches of a tree. He appears unharmed, but not for long. A giant centipede-like creature is about to attack him when Levi regains consciousness and shoots it. He falls onto a red, sticky substance among the roots of a tree. The substance begins to envelop him, and Levi tries to resist but fails, until Dresa arrives and shoots, freeing him. They plan to head toward the eastern wall to find the cable that will get them out. However, the centipede and the strange substance aren't the only dangers down there. Out of nowhere, empty men on horseback appear and attack. Levi and Dresa manage to take them down, but one escapes. To make matters worse, Levi realizes he's lost the elevator, and without it, they'll have to climb 500 meters to get out. Their only option is to follow the river south, searching for a way out of the abyss. However, something strange catches their attention. The empty men are wearing military uniforms from the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, all from the 1940s. Unable to find answers, they continue walking until the mist changes from yellow to violet. There, they find themselves surrounded by motionless empty men, fused to tree branches. Further ahead, they come across an abandoned village with a large opening in the ground. Hearing a noise, they enter what appears to be a church, where they discover human skeletons. Next to one of them is cyanide, indicating they chose to end their own lives. At that moment, spiders descend from the ceiling, and more empty men approach from outside. Using their weapons, Levi and Dresa manage to escape the church and reach the wall of the abyss. There they find a door and enter. Everything is dark, but with the help of their flashlights, they make their way to what seems to be an abandoned laboratory. Inside, they discover an emergency generator that, fortunately, still works. After finding a tape, they play it on a recorder. The recording was made on July 12th or 13th, 1946. A woman explains that their community was formed as part of a secret coalition between Eastern and Western nations. At the end of World War II, while Robert Oppenheimer was developing the atomic bomb in Los Alamos, they were working on biochemical missiles just as destructive. 6 days before the recording, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake struck their location, severely damaging the facility's integrity. This shifted their mission from research to containment. They worked tirelessly to prevent the toxin from escaping. Contact with the biochemical agent fused the DNA of the biological entities within the abyss. Human DNA mixed with plants, animals, and even insects. Some people were more resistant to contamination, especially if exposure lasted hours rather than days. However, within 5 days, mutations began to manifest physically. Their strategic foresight in choosing such an isolated location was the only factor that saved the rest of humanity. Among the equipment, they also find a computer belonging to Dark Lake, a company specializing in genetic research. It reveals that their drones have been collecting hybrid DNA samples to create super soldiers. At that moment, Levi and Dresa realize they are not working for the military as they had believed, but for Dark Lake. After watching the recording, Levi and Dresa understand they must find a way out soon to avoid prolonged exposure to the toxin. Unfortunately, Dresa discovers that her backpack, which held all their ammunition, is no longer where she left it. They find it outside the laboratory and stealthily approach to retrieve it. But just as Dresa grabs it, she is dragged away by the empty man on horseback. Dresa resists and tries to break free, but her head hits a tree, knocking her unconscious. When she wakes up, her hands are tied, and she sees the empty man standing before her. However, she refuses to give up. Summoning all her strength, she kicks him and manages to free herself from the ceiling where she was suspended. The two begin to fight, but the creature is stronger. Dresa dodges its attacks and uses fire to burn the roots covering it until Levi arrives and shoots it. At that moment, they discover that this empty man is actually the first soldier from the Western Tower. He was the one who gave the empty men their name. Levi has discovered they are in a missile silo. Long ago, the earthquake damaged the missiles, causing them to leak. Now the contaminant is in the mist. In their attempt to escape, they pass through a massive, slimy creature, motionless but alive. They are careful not to touch it, fearing it might wake up. However, Dresa accidentally steps on one of its limbs, provoking the creature to attack. They fight their way through, but in the end, they throw an explosive, setting the creature ablaze. They arrive at a garage where they discover several jeeps. These vehicles are still functional and have powerful winches that could be used as an elevator. Dresa speeds off to the east in search of the cable, and they finally find it. They quickly attach it to the jeep and begin to ascend. Soon they emerge from the fog, but suddenly they stop rising. The hollow men have started climbing the rope. Levi and Dresa fight them off, but there are too many, so Levi uses fuel to set them on fire. This allows them to break free and reach the top. At the tower, they tend to their wounds and agree to quarantine themselves for 5 days to ensure they are not infected. Levi returns to his tower, where the next morning, he makes contact to give his monthly report. The drones have informed Bartholomew of activity in the abyss, prompting him to ask Levi if he has gone down there. Levi denies it, assuming it must have been his counterpart in the other tower. He is then ordered to eliminate them. Levi agrees, though it is a lie. Their communication continues until one day they hear a helicopter approaching. Immediately they realize something is wrong and flee in opposite directions. It turns out that Bartholomew did not believe him and has arrived to eliminate them both. Drones are deployed, quickly locating and opening fire on them. Despite this, Levi takes them down, as does Dresa. Both manage to reach higher ground, where they ready their rifles and aim at the towers where Bartholomew is stationed. At that moment, he notices a note written on the wall by Levi, which reads, "There are 3 things that cannot be hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the truth." At that moment, Levi and Dresa fire at the satellites, destroying the camouflage and exposing the abyss. Dresa manages to escape, while Bartholomew and his team retreat in the helicopter, only to be caught in the explosion. Wounded, Levi tries to get as far away as possible, but it is not enough. He is swept away by the blast and falls down a waterfall. Sometime later, Dresa is in France. She has held on to hope that Levi survived, but so much time has passed that she finally decides to open the letter he left her in case he did not make it. Inside, she finds the poem he had written for her. It is April, and Dresa is working as a waitress in a restaurant when, to her surprise, she sees Levi sitting at a table. They approach each other, exchange a few words, and finally they kiss.